Teachers are a huge influence on their students, and I was no different in school. I wanted to become an English teacher because of my English teachers, and though that didn't work out, it was just the same with my high school librarian. Let me tell you about him. Once upon a time, my school decided to really throw its back into clubs. Since we had very little in the ways of funding, it had to be done with materials that we already had. So, the literature club was one of the choices. Now, the interesting thing about clubs was that they took place during the school day. If you were in one, you got to skip class. And that was certainly incentive to join something. So, when Mr. Rivard, the school librarian, started up the literature club, over 200 students showed up, mostly just wanting to get out of class. He knew this, he wasn't stupid. So, what did he do with a library full of 200 students that were not there to read? He got up in front of the entire crowd and said, "Welcome to the first meeting of the School Literature Club, everyone. I'm so glad to see such a huge turnout. To start things off, I'd like everyone to hold up the book that they're reading right now." About 12 students did this, including myself, who was sheepishly holding a copy of Kushiel's Dart, hoping that no one knew what that book was. It's a dirty book you shouldn't be reading in school, but it's one of the best dirty books in the whole world. You should read it. I was a horny teenager, don't fucking judge me. Anyway, Mr. Rivard got a good look around and he nodded to himself and said, "Anyone not holding a book up right now, get out." And he dismissed 188 students back to class. It was the most glorious thing I had ever seen a teacher do. When the room was empty, save for the chosen 12, we ended up with 8 girls, 4 boys, and Mr. Rivard. The literature club was born. We had long table discussions about what we were reading on our own time outside of classes, why, and what it meant to us to be avid readers. We shared poetry because it was moving, discussed dead religious pantheons and how they shaped the world. I felt so bohemian, it was great. And all this took place in a side room of the school library which only club members had open access to, the restricted section. Most libraries have a restricted section, whether they advertise it or not. It's mostly for books that get stolen the most, books about witchcraft, UFOs, realistic figure drawings, etc., etc. We got to go in there for club activities and visit whenever we wanted. It was great. Normally, if you wanted to go into the restricted section, in order to make sure you didn't make off with any books, you had to hand over your shoes. Yes, your shoes, to make sure you didn't leave with anything that didn't belong to you. That's how protective they were of the restricted section at my school. It was partially because of Mr. Rivard that I stand before you today as the head librarian of the Grand Library. He's long since retired by now, no doubt, but I hope he has even an inkling of what he imparted onto students like me and the others of the Literature Club. He really did change our lives and make us feel like being avid readers really meant something.